both secondary schools, tertiary colleges, and even to the universities. With us, we have representation from other universities. I believe we may be having University of Nairobi. Do you have any representation? University of Nairobi, yes, you are there. Stand so that we appreciate you. Stand up, we appreciate you. There they are. Thanks, friends. You know, even when you are throwing stones, you never throw to Kemu. Thank you. Then we have MKU, Mount Kenya University. Any representation from Mount Kenya? There you are. Thank you. Oh, you're not? Yeah, Mount Kenya University. Then KCA. KCA. Okay. And the other colleges? Kins, KIPS, Kins, it's Kins. Cooperative University, where are you? Hey, the smartest guys. You know, I looked at you, I was thinking, I studied properly, we see you. They are there. We appreciate you. And when you finish your first degree, come to masters in Kemu. Then, I think I've mentioned to a few other representations. That we will mention them later. Otherwise, I'll say also, this is not my day. Welcome in Kenya Methodist University. Our main
day's event. Karibu.
Good morning. On behalf of Enterprising World Kenya and Kenya Methodist University, I'm truly honored to welcome you to this intergeneration dialogue forum. And today, we are not just gathering here for another forum. We are here because the country needs us to be here. After witnessing the recent youth uprisings demanding for better governance, which at times seemed to pit the young against the old, it is clear that we need more than protests. And what we need is conversations. Kenya is a nation that is built in the spirit of Harambee, which literally means pulling together. But how can we pull together if the generations are pulling in different directions? The Gen Zs, the millennials, the Gen X, boomers, and even the alphas. Each of these generations holds unique strengths, and others need each other. And yes, we all have weaknesses, but the real magic happens when we all come together, lifting each other up rather than tearing each other down. This dialogue we are having today is not just another talk show. It is a call to action. It is a passionate appeal to every Kenyan, and especially the young people, the youth, that we should embrace dialogue as an alternative tool for change. The future will not be shaped by shouting at each other, but by speaking to each other with respect, with empathy, and with openness. We must recognize, especially for us, the young people, that internet never forgets. And therefore, whatever you say, how you say it, and how we treat each other matters as much as you do it offline. Our theme for the day today is bridging the chasm of generation divide. And these are not just words, but a roadmap to a united Kenya. We need to understand each other. We need to value each generation. We need to work together to shape our nation's future. And by working together, we have to realize that the Gen Zs have their strength in digital literacy. The millennials are always giving and bringing fresh perspectives. The Gen X are a bridge between the old and the young, and the boomers are the source of wisdom. As we look forward to the alphas, who are our hope for the future. And therefore together, all these generations can hold up Kenya to be or to live stronger and more united. Our forum today will focus on 4 critical perspectives or objectives. 1 is cultivating mutual understanding, that we can engage in an open, honest conversations that can foster intergenerational solidarity. And 2, bridging the digital divide. We can explore how digital platforms shape communications, they shape connections and disconnections as well across the generations. And 3, promoting respectful discourse, that we can discuss the best practices we have for dialogue, especially when conflict arises, not just talking to each other. And 4, that we can celebrate intergenerational collaboration, that we can learn how to heal, how to forgive, and how to collaborate across generations to ensure a better Kenya for all of us. And therefore, as we begin our conversation this morning, let us remember the wisdom of the founding fathers of this nation. And let us also remember the resilience of our current youthful population. Let us always remember that we are one nation, we are one people, and our strength lies in our ability to pull together, bridging gaps instead of creating divide. And therefore, I welcome you all to this Intergeneration Forum, and I hope we can make the history together. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Samson. Sandra and your team. Sandra and your team, you are welcome now. We will have a minute of entertainment, not really entertainment, but the Kem song. Don't want to call it anthem at this point, but you're most welcome.
There's a project this one.
No,
There's
the
a
mics
project.
are okay.
The mics are okay. Can you project it? Then I sent to you last time.
1997, our dream took flight. Kenya Methodist in splendor bright. Path of truth, wisdom our guide. Trials faced with vision wide. Rejoice, let's sing for Kemu. In God's arms, values true. Medicines call science and arts, universal uniting hearts. Wide fields of different programs, health sciences growing worldwide. In the heart of Nairobi, a vibrant song we hear. Rejoice, let's sing for Kemu. In God's arms, values true. Medicines call science and arts, universal uniting hearts. Rarity unfolds, patterns so unmatched, values cherished, integrity true. Christian ethos, all we do, anthem of pride, a morning dew. Rejoice, let's sing for Kemu. In God's arms, values true. Medicines called science and arts, universal uniting hearts. International minds united in solidarity. Scholars gather, grand harmony, the future is here. Rejoice, let's sing for Kemu. In God's arms, values true. Medicines called science and arts, universal uniting hearts.
Thank you, thank you. Give them another clap. Asanteni sana. Now I would like to welcome my co-MC, Reverend Joseph Obwanda, to come and take us to the other part of this program today, which we have been waiting for. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Mr. Jeff Ikiamba Kubai, the Assistant Dean of Students, the tallest man in this campus. Let's appreciate him, please. We want to move to the next part, which will facilitate the objective for why we are here, which is dialogue. We want to have a dialogue. And towards that end, we have a guest speaker who will address us. And thereafter, we'll indulge him. I know his time is very constrained. For a few minutes, he'll be part of a panel that will come here that will engage us, so that he'll speak to us, but we'll also have a chance to sound back to him what we have heard and what we will be wrestling with. Are we ready for the dialogue? Come on, are we ready for the dialogue? All right. So in order of protocol, I'll invite our principal, who will invite our VC or DVC, representing the VC, who will then invite our keynote speaker that we just expedite on time. Madam Principal, please.
Okay. Thank you, Reverend. I'll take this opportunity to welcome our DVC Academic Affairs, Reverend Dr. Mary Keynote. She is coming to represent our VC And I'll take this opportunity. Let's welcome Reverend Dr. Mary Keynote with a clap and choose she reaches here. Take this one. Thank you.
Wow, this is a fantastic morning. It's a great day, and I am convinced that we will all walk out different people from how we came in. It's my honor and pleasure to bring you greetings from our Vice Chancellor, Reverend Professor John Kobia Ataya, who really wanted to be with us this morning, but could not be with us because he had to attend a meeting with the Board of Trustees and requested me to come and represent him in this meeting. I want to recognize the students who come from various universities and colleges. We are so glad that you came. I also want to recognize the students from high schools who are here with us. We are so honored by your presence this morning. Allow me to recognize the presence of our own very students, including our students leaders. I can see Madam President is here with her government. Would you rise and wave to us from where you seated with your team? Thank you very much, Kemusa. Let me recognize the presence of our invited guests and members of faculty who are here and the management of this campus. And the most important for us this morning is a recognition of our chief guest, Professor P.L.O Lumumba. We know that you work on a very tight program, back to back, and we're just so excited that within your very busy schedule, you are able to factor in Kenya Methodist University, and much more so to come and facilitate this very important conversation on intergenerational dialogue, themed Bridging the Generational Divide. Welcome to Kenya Methodist University, today, tomorrow, and always. We are your followers. We pledge very much to your ideals and to your philosophy, and we want to thank you very much. And we want to let you know that we watch you, and we follow you, and we stand in solidarity with what you profess and what you stand for this nation, and even for the nations beyond the borders. We are ever mesmerized by your courage, by your confidence, but a lot more so by your willingness and availability, always to want to say that which is the right thing. So thank you very much for affording time to come to us this day. Here at Kenya Methodist University, we have 3 campuses. We have our main campus in Meru. We have this campus in Nairobi, which is in the CBD, and we have another campus in Mombasa. And it's our joy and our prayer that we will be able to host you in those 2 other campuses so that we can have face-to-face conversations with you on these areas which are very key to your heart. We have 7 schools. We have the School of Medicine and Pharmacy. And let me say that, Madam Principal, we are so honored that you are always putting us in the first. So we are the first to host this kind of a dialogue among the public and private universities. A round of applause for our principal, Madam Susan Laimaro. Thank you very much for always putting us on the front line. So we learned the School of Medicine and Pharmacy, and again, we were the first private university to start and to graduate students of medicine and surgery. and we have graduated so many cohorts that are serving our society within and without. We have the school of the business school, we have the health sciences school, we have the school of informatics, we have the school of science and technology, we have the school of education and social sciences, and we have the school of political science and economics, and in January, we are launching the School of Law. Our honored guests this morning, I want to introduce to us our chief guest speaker, who is none other than Professor P.L.O Lumumba. We have known him, we have watched him. How many are of his fans? How many are his fans? Wow, I wish he could look back. A round of applause for him. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are amidst your fans. You are very impactful in this nation to all generations. Professor P.L.O Lumumba is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and Tanganyika and a certified mediator. He is the chairman of Farafina Investment Group in Monrovia, Liberia, and Economic Strategic Growth and Development Initiative for Africa based in Nigeria. He is the immediate former director and the chief executive officer of the Kenya School of Law. He is a former secretary of the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, Constitution of Kenya Review Commission. Professor P.L.O Lumumba is a former secretary of the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission. He is a former director of the defunct Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, KACC, now Ethics and Corruption Commission of Kenya. He is the founding trustee of the African Trustee for Leaders and Leadership, AILL, and the founding chairman of the Association of the Citizens Against Corruption. Professor P.L.O Lumumba is the dean, the founding dean of Kabarak University School of Law, a former lecturer at the University of Nairobi, the United States of International University, and the Widener University, USA, Nairobi Summer School. I am about to bring to us a person who is an embodiment of honesty and integrity, not only in this phase of Africa, but in the larger continent and in the world. I want to invite us, I want to invite our MC to invite Sandra for a dance that will usher. No, I want now to invite us to stand. I want to invite us to stand in honor of our chief guest speaker and give Factorial 7 until he gets to the podium. Factorial 7 until he gets to the podium. Factorial 7. 1 to go.
Thank you very much. You may resume your seats, please. I want, before I start, and I acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Vice Chancellor, the presence of the Principal, and all of you who are here. Before I make my very short intervention, I want to invite Abdul and Favor to come forth and read 2 poems. And read like you read a poem. You know how a poem is read. Modulate your voice.
Okay, thank you. The poem is entitled Fear by... The poem is entitled Fear by Khalil Gibran. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter, there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear, because that's where the river will know. It's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean.
Thank you very much. That poem by Khalil Gibran is one of the most powerful poems ever written. And I want you beyond this to go and read it. The title is Fear, and also learn about Khalil Gibran. The second poem is a famous poem by Rudyard Kipling, If. Raise your voice.
The second poem is entitled Brothers Square Toes by Rudyard Kipling. If you
Let me demonstrate you how you read a poem. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, that is how you read a poem.
Thank you. I'm a little bit nervous.
Please. Your mic should be closed. We are also training on public speaking here.
Thank you. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing there and blaming in you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give up way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear and hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by nerves and to make a trip for tools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one beep of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerves and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if either foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men court with you, but none too much, if you can fill the forgiving minute with 6 seconds worth of distance run, yours is earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you will be a man, my son. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Those 2 poems are some of the most powerful poems ever written. If, you may take if, my friend. Excuse me, this is yours to keep. Read it and internalize it. I'm not going to give a lecture. I'm going to engage in a conversation. How many of you here profess to be Muslims? How many of you here? What was the first word that the Prophet Muhammad was asked to read by the angel Jibril?
Thank you. My name is Hanan Kasim, Treasurer Kemusa. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was instructed to read. The Arabic text is Iqra, which means
Iqra, read. Iqra. Those were the words. And remember that the Prophet was illiterate, but he was made to read, and it was Iqra. For those of you who are Christians, at what age did Christ appear in the temple? And which book did he read? Or which book did he read from? Those who profess to be Christians. Can somebody come and tell me, the students? Yes, please. There's somebody at the back.
I think it was at the age of 12.
Yes.
And he read the book of Isaiah.
He read from the book of Isaiah at age 12. At what age was the prophet Moses called by God to go to Egypt when he was herding the cattle of his father-in-law Jethro? At what age? When he saw the burning bush. Who knows? This is a Christian university. You profess to be Christians. None of you knows. Find out. At what age did Uzziah become king of Judah? And where is it recorded in the Bible? In which book? At what age did Uzziah become the king? And in which book is it recorded? You who claim to be Christians. No, not you. The students, because we are talking about generations. And we are talking about knowledge. And when we are talking about knowledge, it means that you must acquire that knowledge. And the only way of acquiring that knowledge is by reading. And it is important when we talk about intergenerational conversation that we talk about generations that have information. Today we are talking about the Generation Z. Do you know who has popularized that categorization? Those of you who call yourselves the Generation Z. Do you know which American psychologist has written about the generations? Who knows? Because you say you are Generation Z. And you are people who live in times of knowledge where you can Google. Do you know? You are Generation Z. How many of you here have heard of an American lady called Jean-Marie Tweng? I want you to go and read Jean-Marie Tweng, because it is Jean-Marie Tweng that has written a book called Generations. And she is the one who says, and he is writing about America. So let us not define ourselves by things that we do not understand. That is the first thing. Particularly those of us who are Africans. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine 2 weeks ago at an airport in Lagos, Nigeria, and he is a medical doctor, aged 70. And he asked me, you know, I've listened to you on many occasions. Do you know that in recorded history, it would appear that our race is always dominated by other races? That when the Arabs came here, they dominated us. That when the Europeans came here, they dominated us. We are dominated at home and we are dominated abroad. That when we go to other places, modern history appears to suggest that we never dominate. And I want you to reflect on that. Today, in the continent of Africa, when we talk about democracy, we relate democracy to Greece. I was in a debate with some individuals yesterday on a platform which I never contribute to, but I did because I thought that a mortal mistake was being made. The individual was suggesting that African societies did not have systems of governance. And I told the individual, have you read a book or any book by John Henry Clark? Then, of course, as people do in social media platforms, he say, I have read. I said, name for me in the next 1 minute, don't Google. In the next 1 minute, name for me the book by John Henry Clark that you have read. Of course, he had not read. Then I asked him, are you familiar with a book on the Gada system of governance by the Oromo of Ethiopia? And I told him, don't Google, respond to me in 30 seconds. And if you say you have read, I'll ask you what the first opening statement of the book is. He had not read. We don't read. And if you don't read, you cannot know. And if you do not know, then you become defensive. I gave you the two examples of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Prophet Isa, Jesus, peace be upon him, as the Muslims would say, because they demonstrate that acquisition of knowledge has no age limit. Christ begins to read at age 12. And the Prophet Muhammad finds the message through Jibril. The last question is, at what age did Aisha bint Abu Bakr get married to the Prophet, and how old was the Prophet? Those of you who are Muslims. This is intergenerational conversation.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was 25. Aisha...
when he received the word, at what age did he marry Aisha bint Abu Bakr? He was 53. Aisha was 6. But the marriage was consummated when Aisha was 9. Go and check.
9, yeah.
Read Abu Huraira.
Yes,
I'm trying to demonstrate, even those of you who are Christians, you must read the Quran. How many of you here who are Christian think that reading the Quran takes you to hell? Because some people teach that kind of theology, which is completely misguided. I am trying to say that when you are engaging in intergenerational conversations, all knowledge is valid. In 1985, when the then Tanzanian head of state was leaving office, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, he said that there is no Kiswahili word that quite defines what happens when a person leaves office for a younger generation. But he said, in my ethnic group, there was Zanaki, there is a word. And I want Tanzanians to begin using that word, kungatuka. Do you know that the word kungatuka is a Zanaki word, which has now been made a Kiswahili word? To leave office, tunasema unangatuka. And ukingatuka, you let another generation take over. Today, we are talking about generations. And we are saying that every generation has a role to play. And history has been consistent in demonstrating to us that it is young people who change society. If you look even in religion, Christianity is a very young religion, and Islam, very young religions. If you go to the older religions such as Hinduism, how many of you here have read the books Mahabharata? How many of you have read the Mahabharata? This is a university where people ought to be reading. How many of you have read the Mahabharata? None of you. If you read the title of the Mahabharata, it says, Sage Vyas says that he or she who has not read the Mahabharata has read nothing. The Mahabharata is the longest poem ever written by man, 11 times longer than the Bible, the Mahabharata. I want you to go and read it and read the summary of it and understand how the origin of Hinduism. And in that book, I'm telling you about intergeneration. When you read the Mahabharata, you will find 3 major characters there. One of them is called Bhishma, who had a gift. He could only die when he wished. The other one is one of the first people in Hinduism to be called a Mahatma. Mahatma means a great soul. Those of you who are younger, the only person that you know to have been called Mahatma is Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, otherwise known as Mahatma Gandhi. Those of you who come from the University of Nairobi, you'll find the statue of Mahatma Gandhi at the Great Court. A great soul, because soul is Atma. And in that particular book, there are young people who are trained. They are called the Pandavas. They represent good. And their cousins are called the Kauravas. They represent evil. And why am I telling you this? Bhishma is allowed to live for many years in order to train the young ones. Because wisdom and experience comes from age. And it is the duty of the young ones to learn from the experienced ones. And it is the duty of the old ones to give way. This is why when he's writing in 1958, the then 22 years only, Chinua Achebe, in his book Things Fall Apart, poses the question, and where are the young suckers that will grow when the old bananas die? You are the young suckers that grow when the old banana die. The tragedy in most Africa, particularly in the political arena, is that the old bananas refuse to die. With the consequence that you turn up to be 50 and you are still told you are leaders of tomorrow. That is part of the problem of the continent of Africa. I'm demonstrating to you, in Hinduism you see that. In Christianity, Or even much older religion, Buddhism. How many of you know the story of Gautama Buddha or the Buddha? I want you to go and find out the Buddha who left his palace, the palace of his parents, and went out, and he acquired enlightenment. He was a young man. And then you come to Christianity. Look at those whom Christ picked. How old were they? How old was Peter? How old were the two sons of Zebedee? These were individuals in their 20s, your age. When you read about these apostles or disciples of Jesus, don't think that they were my age. They were not. Christ himself is crucified at age 33. History teaches us. They were doing great things when they were young. But they were learning from the older ones. They were engaging in conversations. And the world has never been the same again because of the works that they did. Those of you who are Muslims, look at the Sahabas of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Abu Bakr, others. Look at the key writers and key commentators of the Hadith. How old was Aisha when she was writing the Hadiths? They were in their 20s. If you are 30, you are Methuselah in those days. You are supposed to have died. Intergenerational conversation. And you see it right in all these books, and you see it even in the history of societies. Look at Europe. Look at the process of exploration in Europe. How old was Marco Polo when he was going to China? How old was Vasco da Gama when he was leaving Lisbon and coming through the Cape of Good Hope, coming to Mombasa and going all the way to Goa in India? They were in their 20s. How old was Christopher Columbus? How old were they? They were young, in their 20s. It is the energy and zeal and zest of youth that gives birth to change. Who among you, how many of you here have watched the film Gandhi? How many of you have watched the film Gandhi by Richard Attenborough? 1982 was the year of its making. What do you watch? I want you to go and look for the film Gandhi. You can Google it and find it. I want you to only look for one thing. When the Mahatma is speaking to young people, and there is a conflict between the Muslims and the Hindus, and this is what the Mahatma says. He tells them, and I remember when I was a young man in Gujarat, one day, the person who was reading from the prayer book came and did this thing. He said he read from the Hindu Gita to the Muslim Quran and to the Christian Bible, reading from one book to the other as if it did not matter which book was being read as long as God was being worshipped. And he told his audience that when you say we kill the Muslims and the others say we kill the Hindus, an eye for an eye will only make the world blind, the Mahatma said. And he told that young man, I see you are very angry. Your anger is necessary. But your anger must be given order. Because if anger is not orderly, if anger is not canalized, then it is devastating and negative. But if you canalize water, it acquires power. It can generate electricity. It is the duty of every young man to be angry. To be angry with the society. Today we live in a country where there is need for anger. We live in a country where people reap where they have not sown. We live in a country where thieves are celebrated, where thieves are canonized, and good people are demonized. That is the country and the continent in which we live. That is why we must have conversations. If you look at societies that have changed throughout history, I've talked about exploration. Look at the people who came here and colonized us. How old were they? And they changed us permanently. Permanently. They came here, found us worshiping our gods. They changed us. We now have, even our names, they changed. You are no longer Mutuku, you are Raphael. Because you belong to the Anglican Church. You are no longer Onyango. You are John, because you are Roman Catholic. You are no longer Ntamburi, because you are Martin, because you are Methodist. Young people, they came here, they were young. But there were people back at home. The Royal Society in England was the guarantor of them, and they changed societies. What are you going to change? You who are here. Don't tell me you are young or you are too young. No, you are not too young. But that can only happen when there are conversations. How many of you here have watched the film 10 Commandments, 1956 version by Cecil B. DeMille, with Charlton Heston as Moses and Yul Brynner as Ramesses II? How many of you? How many of you? Because you are Christian, you ought to have watched the 10 Commandments, the 1956 version, the original one. And I'm giving you these examples partly to educate you and partly to demonstrate to you that you are not reading sufficiently. You know, remember this joke that was being made? That if you want to hide anything from an African, you put it in a book. There is no danger of its ever being found. You remember that joke? I want you to participate in this dialogue. How do you learn if you don't read? How many of you have read the last conversations of Socrates? How many of you first have heard of Socrates? If in a congregation of 100, only 3 have heard of Socrates, then we are in trouble. We are in trouble because Socrates is one of the leading thinkers in the world. How many of you here have heard of Orunmila, one of the greatest African philosophers from the Yoruba people of Nigeria? How many of you have heard of him? Then what conversations must you have? Because you must have conversation through acquisition of knowledge. You must read. And today you are in a totally different world where you can Google anything. You can find anything you want. Because if you don't read, how are you going to compete with the Koreans? Because they are reading. How are you going to compete with the Vietnamese? Because they are reading. How are you going to compete with the Brazilians? Because they are reading. How are you going to compete with the Americans and the Europeans? Because they are reading. How are you going to compete with the Arabs? Because they are reading. Today, I believe almost all of you here have a phone. How many, all of you have phones? How many of you have phones? Does any one of you have a phone which is made in any country in Africa? None of you. That tells you that our conversations You know, in Africa, the only thing a friend of mine was telling me is from South Africa, is a white South African. He told me, you know, what we did in many African countries is that we gave you Africans the crown without the jewel. And we gave you a toy called politics. That is what you play with. You love to be called presidents. You love to be called ministers with motorcades. But we control the economy where it matters most. You fight on the basis of tribe and religion in pursuit of that thing, those political offices, but we control you. And they are right. They are right. Even you, young generation, you will be dominated. I travel across this continent, and every time I'm traveling to any part of this continent, I see young Chinese between the ages of 20 and 30. They are going. I met one and he told me, I'm going to Kaduna in Nigeria. How many of you here have been in Kaduna in Nigeria? I meet them and they tell me I'm going to Banjul in the Gambia. Age 20. I'm going to Porto Novo. What are they looking for? Who is behind them? The older generation is behind them. At the University of Nairobi, there is a whole institute which they have built called the Confucius Institute. How many of you have read about Confucius? There is a Confucius Institute at the University of Nairobi. There is a Confucius Institute at the University of Accra in Ghana in Accra. There is a Confucius Institute at the Dar es Salaam University. There is a Confucius Institute at Makerere University. There is a Confucius Institute in most African public universities. Why? Knowledge. Because this battle is going to be fought and won on the basis of knowledge. A Chinese will be reading the works of Confucius, the works of Mao Zedong, the works of Deng Xiaoping, because they want to learn, because the knowledge is built upon knowledge. How many of you know the story of Mekatilili Wamenza, of the Giriama people? How many of you? How many of you here know the origin of the road Mwindi Mbingu? Do you know Mwindi Mbingu? How many of you here have read the history of Hari Thuk or Didan Kimathi Washiuri? None. Then you can't compete. These are the conversations that I want us to engage in. And particularly when I come to a university, I want the university to be the fountain of knowledge. Today, I ask people when they say they are teaching political science, I ask, who are the leading thinkers in political science that you are talking about in Africa? What are we teaching in our faculties of political science at universities? I ask. Those students of economics, is there a student of economics here in this assembly? Have you read Dambisa Moyo? The leading economic thinker, the Zambian lady Dambisa Moyo. You have not read Dambisa, you are not an economist. Political science, he's a student of political science here. Who is a student of political science? Have you read Achille Mbembe? These are the contemporary leading thinkers in economics and political science in Africa. You are still reading Lipsy and Michael Todaro. Europe stopped reading those things in 1960 except for historical purposes. Because conversations is not always physical, conversation is also through books. Because you learn from one thing. I remember there is a Kenyan politician who was my very good friend. The night before he died, he called me. He was then lying on what turned out to be his deathbed at Kenyatta Hospital, Martin Shikuku. And he told me, young P.L.O, Do you know any university that teaches experience? Where they have a faculty where they teach experience? I said, I do not know. Say they can't teach experience. You must have experience by going through processes. This is what conversation that we are talking about, that the young shall pass over the knowledge to the old. Today, in all major Bantu communities throughout Africa, we have circumcision, right? The Meru have them, the Embu have them, the Agikoyo have them, the Abakusi have them, among the Kalenjin tribe they have them. But what do? They just stand still and get circumcised. Beyond that, what knowledge is being passed as it was in the olden days? Nothing. Some even now go under anesthesia and they get the foreskin removed. No knowledge. These were the systems that were used to pass knowledge. And they died. Why do you think that the Europeans have institutes where research is undertaken? Why do you think that research and development is important in these societies? Because that is where you pass over knowledge. Why do you think that the Europeans came up with titles such as professors? Who is a professor? You just don't wake up and you become a professor. Today, we live in a country where every other individual, particularly in the political arena, run to some rural university in their village. They are given a 100-degree honoris causa. The following day, he says, "You must call me a doctor." They're now even offering honorary professorials. And you hear somebody who never went beyond standard 6. If you don't introduce them as Professor so-and-so, they go to the master of ceremony, say, "I'm Professor so-and-so." The acquisition of titles without knowledge. Titles that are not earned. Conversations which are intergenerational. If you look at all societies, look at the development of Europe, from absolute monarchs to constitutional monarchs. How did it happen? Young people rose in Europe from Sweden to Russia in 1917, and they slaughtered all their kings. That is how constitutional monarchies came in Europe. And where they did not take away the kings, they actually removed monarchies. Italy is one of them when they eliminated the Medicis. In France, in 1789, when there was a revolution, it is young people who came out. In the struggle for American war of independence, how old was George Washington? How old was Emperor Atatürk of Turkey when they were eliminating the Ottoman Empire and gave to the English language the word or the expression, the Young Turks? How old were the freedom fighters in Africa when they were fighting? In Kenya, how old was Kenyatta here? How old was he? How old was Dedan Kimathi Washiuri? In Tanzania, how old was Nyerere at that time? How old was Kawawa? How old was Karume? In Uganda, how old was Benjamin Kiwanuka? How old was Apollo Milton Obote? How old was Kenneth David Kaunda and Simon Kapwepwe? How old was Kamuzu Banda? How old was Modibo Keita in Mali? How old was Nkrumah? How old was Patrice Emery Lumumba? They were young. How old was Walter Sisulu? How old was Mandela? How old was Solomon Mahlangu? How old was Samora Moises Machel and Eduardo Mondlane? How old was Sam Nujoma and Andy Mbahaman Toivo in Namibia? Young. Organized. And writing even at that time. How old when Chinua Achebe was writing his book, Things Fall Apart? Chinua was 22 years of age. How many of you here are 22 years of age? How many paragraphs have you written beyond the examination? These are the things that we are talking about. Today, in Kenya, we are not excited by ideas. And societies are moved by ideas. You know, sometimes I think about us. And our inability to invent and innovate. And I love giving this example. Today, when I leave here, I'll possibly be driving a car made by Japanese, Toyota. It came from young minds, Toyota. I want you to look at the age of the man who came up with Toyota. Then some of you will leave here and you'll be carried in a border. I want you to read how Koichiro Honda, the man who came up with what you now drive called Honda, Koichiro Honda, how old he was. And when I leave here, I'll go and fill my car in a petrol station, Total Energies, which is French. And then I will go to KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is the United States of America. I may even take Uber, which is from the United States of America, San Francisco, or Bolt, which is from Estonia, or Yego, which is from India. And once I've taken my Kentucky Fried Chicken, I will then have a portion of it being delivered to me by Glovo, which is from Spain. And if I'm the middle class, my house will be guarded by KK, which is Gardewald from Canada, or G4S from the United States of America. And when I want to sell my building or I want to let out this building, it will be Knight and Frank from the United Kingdom. And when I'm thirsty, I'll possibly be taking water, Dasani, which is Coca-Cola. And my shoes is from Italy. My watch from Switzerland. My underwear made in Bangladesh or Vietnam. My cologne is from Sweden. And my fake hair, if I'm a lady, is from Brazil. I mean, just think about it. This is why we must have these conversations. Because what do we own? And those of you who think that butter is our own, butter was from butter in Canada. And then you can't afford anything, of course you go to Gikomba. You buy mitumba, which is discarded clothes from some United States of America. Africa consumes that which has been rejected by other civilizations. I can go on and on, but what I'm stressing to us, it is important that we begin to have meaningful conversation. Let us come and reason together. Let us come and reason together. This is what is making the Chinese go where they are going. The Chinese young men and women demonstrated in Tiananmen in 1980s, and I want you to look when the Chinese are holding their party meeting, 6,000 of them drawn from different parts of China. China is now planning for the next 100 years. You Kenyans are thinking of how to extend the life of your president and your governor. Others are thinking about how to relate with Africa in 100 years. When none of us, all of you, will be dead. But they are thinking about it. The Chinese wall was built over a period of 500 years. That is strategic thinking. They know that this generation will hand over to the next generation and hand over to the next generation. It is intergenerational. That is how we must think. Today, do you know that when you go to Kisumu, you actually can eat tilapia, which is imported from China, in Kisumu? Tilapia. Do you know that if you go to Carrefour supermarket, which is a French outlet, you can buy butter from Denmark and eggs from Romania, as if our chicken forgot how to lay eggs? These are the realities. Until and unless we have those conversations, we are going nowhere. Where is the mentorship program? Look at your television. What are you watching on your televisions? Hollywood. You know, I went to a certain university in this country and somebody came and said, I'm an expert in computers. I said, who's expert about what? Expert of what? Which ones do you own yourself? I'm on Instagram. I'm on WhatsApp. Don't use WhatsApp, use Signal. If you use Signal, they will not catch you. Who told you? You control nothing. Today, if the owners of WhatsApp in the United States of America decided to take it out, you are back to the Stone Age. You own nothing. Today we have Starlink with Elon Musk. If he takes it away, you are nothing. Africa owns nothing. Zero. You are an expert in zero. In China, they realized that you learn from others and create your own. That is how they created TikTok. That is how they created WeChat. That's how they have Weibo. Chinese. When I was young, the phones that you knew about were Nokia. Where is Nokia today? There was Blueberry. Where are they today? Today, the leading phone companies in the world, Techno, China. Samsung, China. I think 61 years ago, our economy in Kenya was bigger than the economy of South Korea. Today, our economy at GDP levels is slightly over 110 billion shillings. 110 billion. Our population is about 50 million. South Korea is about 52 million. Their GDP is 1.6 trillion. GDP per capita is over 30,000. Our GDP per capita is not more than 1,500. The statistics claim it is 2,000, but I doubt. We generate only 5,000 megawatts of electricity. 5,000 megawatts of electricity. South Korea generates 75,000 megawatts. You say we are going to industrialize. Industrialize where? With what? Conversations. The universities that we have in many African countries have become forums for issuing certificates, certificate issuing institution. If you ask how many patents were registered by Kenyan researchers in the last 1 year, if they reach 2, I would be shocked. 2. I will stop in the next 3 minutes. This conversation must be conversation about building Kenya. If you go to public universities in Kenya today, you don't hear about the engineering students who are working together to come up with invention. No, you hear Nyeri Students Association, South Nyanza Students Association, Sondusa, Meru Students Association, Embu Students Association. How can a continent degenerate in primordial ethnic instincts as the dominant factor, even in institutions of higher learning? Conversations about what? What are we conversing about? Because we can have dialogue, but about what? We must choose what we are having dialogue about. Are we having dialogue about agriculture? Do you know that Vietnam will next year overtake Kenya and Uganda combined in the production of coffee? Conversations about education. We do not know whether we should have grade 9 in primary or in secondary. Even matters as mundane as the physical location of a classroom, we do not know in Kenya. We do not know. In less than a few years, 30 years, how many commissions have we had on education? A Rolling Stone, they say, has gathered no storm. Since 1963, we had the Beecher Commission, the Ominde Commission, the Gashadi Commission, the Koech Commission, and then, of course, we had, that was Ticket. Then we have the Munavu Task Force. How can you constantly have task force about education? How many times has the United States of America changed its education system? How many times have the Vietnamese changed their education system? How many times have the Chinese changed their education system? In such a confusing manner. Conversations about what? About industrialization. You go to Juakali sector. I one day took a friend of mine from Germany there, where they do in Kamukunji, and one of the fellows who is making suitcases was saying, we intend to export these suitcases to Germany. He said, these things, export them. How? How can they be exported? What is the standard of exportation? We should have converted Juakali into something else. This is the conversation that we ought to be having. In other words, you young people must engage us in conversation that is going to make Kenya be a good country for this generation and generations yet to be born. We must love ourselves. I'm suggesting to us that we don't love ourselves. And because we don't love ourselves, we don't do things. You know, sometimes when I walk around Nairobi and I see the way we drive, it is a reflection of how our minds work. Because rules are there. When you go to a driving school, you are told you stop when the lights are red and go when they are green. In Kenya, you go when they are red, if at all. And you stop when they are green, assuming that a police officer does not stop you. And Boda Boda is riding everywhere, and the pedestrians are crossing everywhere. You would think that you are in Amboseli National Parks, and you are dealing with tic-tics and gazelles, not human beings. Conversation must be about order. About order. Even when we demonstrate, I saw when the Gen Z were demonstrating in Kenya, within a short while it had degenerated courtesy of goons into chaos and looting was taking place. The following week they were demonstrating in Bangladesh. And what happened? No looting. They went to the palace of the president ran away. All cabinet ministers ran away. Order. Target. In the Arab Spring, When that young man burned himself, what did they do? Change. In Tunisia is troubled, but change. Change in Egypt. Conversations must be about ideas. And you must be mentored. My good friend here, the Reverend Obwanda, and I collaborate in a number of things about excellence. Who have you mentored? And what are you mentoring them about? What are you reading? In 1950s, when Chairman Mao Zedong, how many of you have read Mao Zedong's The Red Book? You must read it, even if you are not a communist. When Mao Zedong wrote that book, he said, and Vladimir Lenin, after the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, he said, if you want to say anything, you must say it in 3 minutes, and if you do not know, you do not speak. You have no right to speak. It is only those who know who ought to speak. Vladimir Lenin. And I want to conclude with this. It is through dialogue that you change societies, and you change them, and that is why I told you to read the poem Fear. Because when you lose fear, then you can change the world. You know, there is a young German who changed the world. That young German is Martin Luther. How many of you have heard about Martin Luther? Martin Luther became famous because on the 31st day of October in the year 1517, after he had had dialogues with the clergy in the Roman Catholic Church about many things, he was dissatisfied. He did not just come out and make noise. Martin Luther, 31st of October, 1517 in the 16th century, he came up with what then began or heralded the beginning of the great reformation of the church. The 95 Theses at the church in Wittenberg. How many of you who are Christians here have read the 95 Theses that Martin Luther penned at the church in Wittenberg on 31st of October 1517? How many of you have read the 95 Theses? I want you to go and read the 95 Theses. Why am I saying this? Dialogue in an organized manner. How many of you here who are Christians have read the great debate between Athanasius and Irenaeus, which ultimately led to the convention of the Council of Nicaea and the Nicene Creed? How many of you who are Christians here recite the Nicene Creed of 324 AD? How many of you who are Christians know about the Nicene Creed? And you are Christians in the Council of Nicaea. I conclude by saying that we can only dialogue on the basis of knowledge. When you have knowledge, you lose fear. Because you know that what you are talking about is evidence-based. And your knowledge must be about many things. I'm a professed Christian, and I gave a friend of mine, there is a book which is written by Desmond P.L.O Tutu. How many of you have read the book God is Not a Christian by Desmond P.L.O Tutu? How many of you? How many of you have read the book God is Not a Christian, Desmond P.L.O Tutu? How many of you have read the book There is Some Element of Godlessness in Christianity and Muslim by Kamau Macharia? How many of you have read Towards Genocide in Kenya, The Curse of Negative Ethnicity by Koigi Wawamwere? None. Therefore, as I conclude, my message is, let us dialogue intergenerationally, but I want to dialogue with individuals who have information. Because when you have information, You have the courage to talk. And you have the courage to speak and to offer an opinion. And when you have an opinion, you can change that opinion when you have superior evidence. The question is, some people say, a friend of mine used to say, that so-and-so holds an opinion. He said, no, let us find out whether he holds the opinion or is the opinion that holds him. Because there are individuals who claim they hold the opinion, but they have no opinion. They are held by certain dogmatic positions. So, I've spoken longer than I intended. You are young suckers that will grow when the old banana dies. But there is also another saying. As long as the old goat does not die, the young goats will never thrive. It is the duty of those who are old to also have mentees. You who are old here, how many of you are you mentoring? You must mentor at least 10 people in your circle. And mentorship is reciprocal. And when you do that, then you can change the world. So young Kenyans and those who are not Kenyans, my message to you is that you must always remember that a society is only moved by ideas. And those ideas must be held by men and women who are prepared to change society. They must be men and women who have courage. And today in Kenya, it is one of the most difficult things to be courageous. All of us want to be politically correct. In Kenya, one of the most dangerous things, and I've said this before, is to be honest. But yet I encourage you to be honest. One of the most dangerous things in this country today is to be courageous, and I encourage you to be courageous. One of the most dangerous things in Kenya today is to be a Kenyan. It is easy to run to your tribe. But yet Samora Machel once said, for the new African nation to thrive, the tribe must die. But I do not mean that the tribe dies, that it does not exist. No, it should remain a mark of identity, but not a basis for decision making. That is what we must embrace. And you must say so and do so courageously. So be Kikuyu all you want, be Luo all you want, be Kamba all you want, be Luhya all you want. But when we are making decisions, let's make decisions on the basis of that which is good and right. Today at Kemu University, when you are being taught law, do you ask the tribe of the lecturer? No. What you want is a good lecturer, don't you? It is the great Deng Xiaoping who said, when they were changing the economy of China, he said, in China we have made the decision that we want to catch a rat. And in that exercise, we do not care whether the cat that catches the rat is black or white. We only want a cat that catches the rat. That is the decision that we must make as a people. If we make that decision, then our countries will be right. I'll take 2 questions, then I leave. Thank you.
Let's appreciate the Prof. Prof, kindly with your indulgence, you may resume your seat at that point. Let's appreciate the professor much, much better than that. Oops. That was thank you, Chibet. That was mind-boggling and mind-stimulating and mind-stretching. As he catches his breath, and I will ask the protocol teams to serve him some liquid. Okay, he is fine, all right? So that we are able to continue this dialogue. I know he has indulged us longer than he anticipated. He had given me a heads up that he'll need to be attending to another function shortly after this. And I appreciate your indulgence for a little longer. And he has accepted to receive at least 2 questions. And so as we prepare to receive those questions, I will ask, there was a panel that was to join him there to engage in this dialogue. So I'll invite them to the fore to join him. Allow me to just go straight to the names that have been given. I'll ask Professor. So I'll ask Professor Robert Gateru to join the professor on the podium. That's the VC, Riara University, a former principal of Kenya Methodist University. I'll ask Mr. Anthony Manyara, the president of KUSO, and also ESN, that is Africa Students Network and Kenya University Students Organization. I will ask Mr. Boniface from Equity. Is he here? Boniface? He hasn't come, Kinoti? Not yet, all right. I'll ask Chebet. Where's Chebet? Gen Z. Okay, please hand over the microphone to somebody else. Who is agile to help with the microphone? Great. And then finally, I'll ask the Bishop, Samuel Kadia, who will represent the voice of the church. So this lady and gentlemen, these ladies and gentlemen will engage us further, but in the interest of time, because Prof has to leave, I will ask for the 2 questions to be submitted from the floor. Open 2 questions. I'll just keep it open. Yes. Yes, can I have some? Yes. Solomon, help with this. Let's have this moved, please. Some strong students, yes. All right. Great. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. So can we have the courageous voices? Okay, let's. All right. Please be precise. Introduce yourself, name, institution that you're representing, and get to the question. No commentaries as at the moment.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Anyway, by the way of introduction, I'm Emmanuel Chogombani, a Liberian by nationality. I'm a student of international relations at Keynote. Yeah, my question has to do with, I listened to the professor presentation. Let me extend my warmest felicitation to the professor. Professor, thank you very much for your presentation. My question is, how can the young generation embark on the success of decision making when we have the old leaders of our continent in Africa who craft and adapt every laws and policy that govern us on the continent of Africa? I'm asking this question because in 2015, the Africa Agenda 2063 was crafted and adopted by the old leaders. They are the controller of the Africa Agenda 2063. Now, I also extend my question to the world. The United Nations was founded in 1945. It took 70 years before including young people into its resolution. The resolution, the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2250, that recognizes the role young people play in long-term peace and sustainable development. Since that resolution was adopted,
I've gotten your question.
You can,
okay, thank you.
All right.
The second question?
Let's take the second question.
From a lady?
Yes, Prof prefers here the voice of the ladies as well.
From a lady?
Any courageous lady to ask a question. Let's keep it precise and clear.
If there is none, I'll proceed to answer the question.
All right, sir. You may proceed.
Let me thank you very much, my young friend from Liberia. We do a lot of work in Liberia, we know. And post-colonial Africa is very young. Sometimes I also ask us to be charitable to Africa. Your country, Liberia, of course, is a little older. The Liberia, I think, created by freed slaves in the 18th century, so it's an old country that we claim was never colonized, Nigeria and Ethiopia. My view, therefore, is that in as much as we point out some of these problems, remember that the Africa we know, as we know it today, was partitioned in 1884, 1825 in Berlin. And the reason behind the partition was to allow the European colonizers to exploit the continent of Africa. These boundaries are therefore artificial. And retaining artificial countries is not easy. In fact, if you remember in the year 1963, on the 25th day of May 1963, one of the arguments by Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah was that we unite quickly. And people brought in a number of arguments that we should redo the boundaries. And both Nkrumah and Nyerere said, if we start redoing the boundaries, there'll be so many conflicts that Africa will be at war for many years. That is why, therefore, in 1963, something came up which I want you to go and read about. The doctrine of inviolability or intangibility of inherited boundaries. It was repeated again in 1964 at the second OAU conference in Cairo in Egypt. And after that, only 2 countries have been created since. South Sudan in the year 2011 and Eritrea after the war in 1991. Because the whole idea is that you retain the countries as they are. That tells you how difficult it is. And we have had in the recent past leaders who have remained in power for a very long time. Paul Biya of Cameroon, now at age 91. Nguema of Equatorial Guinea. It is not going to be easy. If you look at Europe, they went through this phase. If you look at Asia, they went through this phase. It is your duty to remain vigilant and to keep on pushing the agenda. I believe some of you have read Africa Agenda 2063, Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and all these declarations that we make. They are good things. You can't quarrel with Africa Agenda 2063. You can't quarrel with the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 of them. They are good. But the young people must ensure that they are involved and that they involve themselves. Sometimes you don't have to be involved, you get involved. And if you look at the history of those who have been involved, ask different generations. I already talked about those who are involved in the freedom struggle. Look at people like Ernesto Che Guevara. How old was Che Guevara when he was running around the world, including the Democratic Republic of Congo? He was in his 20s. How old was Fidel Castro? How old was Simon Bolivar, who liberated Latin America? It is the duty of young people. He is a university student here, and we've met before. But the question I keep on asking, the university students ought to be concerned with critical things about the society. That is what we expect about them. We don't expect the university student to be talking about the size of chapati at the central catering unit. They can talk about that, but they talk about bigger national issues. Because how you engage people is also very important. There are things that you can get depending on how you ask for them. Even when you are disagreeing with people, you must disagree with people in an agreeable fashion. And I want to conclude, therefore, by saying, never give up. Try and try again. And if you fail, know that success awaits you on the other boundary. This is the message. Success is for those who are ready to endure. And I want to conclude this because you are bishop. If you look at the history of Christianity, almost all disciples of Christ who are martyred, almost all of them. In other words, you've got to die because there are Muslims here. In order for Islam to be what it is, you will agree with me, what we call the Quran did not exist when the Prophet was there. The putting it together in one was not there. How many fitnas were fought? The wars of the fitnas. People fought and died. So don't expect that you are going to get things in your lifetime. No, play your part. That is all you can do. Play your part. You'll now allow me to leave.
Thank you very much, Prof. I'll ask Madam VC, DVC, to just pass a word of thank you. Prof, indulge for a minute for the vote of thanks. Dancers, please get ready. Come on stage to the other end for ease of transition.
Wow. Wow. That was powerful. Was it? How many of you have learned new things that you didn't know before you came here? Wow, wow. I wish Prof was looking behind to see how many hands have gone up. How many have learned not to fear? How many have learned from the Eve where he started? How many have learned courage? How many have learned to gain new ideas through reading and reading broadly? How many of you have learned? It's not just about reading and research, but also patenting and ensuring that we are innovators. We don't need to wear dresses from Turkey. We don't need to wear on our hands hair from other parts of the world. We have what it takes. Prof, we are so grateful. Thank you very much. We are grateful that you honored us. We are grateful that you have impacted us with what you have presented. And we want to make sure that what we have learned today as a university is not going to be left in this room. We are all going to be implementers and dreamers and thinkers and doers of new great things to change our society and to make life bearable and happier for everyone. Thank you. We are going to continue with these conversations. Madam Principal, once again, thank you for this conversation. It's going to be the honor of the day at Kenya Methodist University. We are going to have many more, and we want to recognize that we have been joined while Prof was speaking. We've been joined by the members of our University Council. We have our lawyer here with us present. Would you like to stand and wave to the crowd? Thank you very, very, very much. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are joined by another member of the council here who represents the alumni. Thank you very much. We are joined by Abdi over there. Please wave again from the alumni of this university. We really want to let you know, Prof, that what you have birthed today as the backup of the organs of governance for this university, as the backup for from the management, the Senate, and the student body, because you can also see the Kemusa represented by the president seated on the podium here. Thank you very much. We cannot thank you enough. We just want to let you know that we will work tightly and closely with you so that you can impart that knowledge to us as we step out there by faith and courage to play our part. Shall we rise and give him a factorial 5? And the principal will be seeing him off even as he leaves. Thank you very much. Want to go factorial 5? Thank you very much. We can take our seats.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Prof, I understand there's a photo here. Prof, there's a photo here, the VC and the principal here, please. Sarah, then do it. Please, council members join, please. Abdi, we need you here. When you become the president, you remember this. Yes, one student from secondary schools. Victor, where are you? Yes. A lady, where are ladies? Come. Yeah. Chebet, come in. You are our student leader. We need you there. Go on the extreme end. On the extreme end. Chebet, go to the extreme end. All right. There's secondary school students there. All right. Garden Estate, Changamkeni. Those are the suckers, the young suckers that will succeed the old banana. Yeah. Chop. All right. DJ, some music. All right, there you are. All right. Thank you very much. So students may resume your seats. Let's appreciate Prof. Let's appreciate all of us. He has set us on a trajectory. And let's appreciate our wonderful panel. I want to ask our friend from the Catholic Justice and Peace. Please, where are you? My apology, I couldn't get the exact name. Is it? Where are you, please? All right. I'm Kanji. Please do join us on the podium. Victor, join to replace P.L.O. Victor John from Garden Estate. Yes, please. All right. So this panel will help us for not more than half an hour before our lunch to flesh out some of the conversational points that the good professor has provoked us on. But they will be introducing themselves in a little more details as they are seized of the subject for the occasion. Shall we give a big round of applause to our panelists here? Thank you very much. So for now, as a break and as you just catch your breath, the dancers from Kenya Methodist University, we have a choreographed team. They will do something for us for a minute. Let's appreciate the team, please.
Now could you
Wow, wow, wow. Let's appreciate them. That's a generational thing. That's a generational thing. Please, can we have the microphones on standby to the panelists, please? Thank you, Madam Treasurer. So you'll give them money. All right. So I'd like them in 1 minute to just mention name and how are you seized, or what's your quick thought about the subject of bridging the generational gap. Just in your name, where are you into, what do you do, and then what is your quick thought on bridging the generational gap? Go ahead, Victor.
My name is Victor.
Let's try to use the microphone horizontally, because this is a unidimensional microphone. If you use it this way, it becomes more powerful. Thank you.
My name is Victor Kidimba. I am a student at Garden Estate Secondary School. I'm in Form 4. And my view towards this issue, it's that more than anything, the older generation needs to create space for us to thrive. Like as Mr. Lumumba put it, the old bananas need to die so that the young
suckers can grow. Well put, well put. Thank you. Thank you. That's a good start. All right.
Thank you so much. My name is Masai Naomi Chebet. I am privileged to be the president of KEMUSA. I am also privileged to serve as the Minister of Education in KUSO and the Vice President of KUPA, that is Kenya University's Performing Arts Association.
You're a powerful person. Go
so
ahead.
My opinion on the conversation is that it is about time we had the conversation, and there is a lot of gaps and a lot of miscommunication between the different generations. Like the Gen Z case just opened us up to how much there is a rift between the generations. So it's about time, and I'm glad we are having this conversation.
Well put. Kanji, introduce yourself and I'll engage you further. What is that rift? What are the cleavages?
Thank you so much. I am Dr. Makanji Oluteo. My opinion, of course, is on the intergenerational cleavages. I feel basically, is it a Gen Z thing or is it a Gen Zote thing? And therefore, that should be the starting point. We need to address the issues of the Gen Zote first, then we have a good springboard to move towards now issues of the Gen Z. If we mix the two issues out, it becomes very chaotic. Thank you.
Brilliant. Good, Prof. As you introduce yourself, sir, pick it up from there and tell us, are the issues special to a generation or are they human issues?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
How are you? It's good to be back home. Kemu is home.
Kemu! Yeah.
It's good to see so many friends, former colleagues. I used to work here. I was privileged to be the principal of this campus for about 4 years before I transitioned to other things. So it's good to be back home. And I must congratulate Kemu for this wonderful conversation, which is really very timely. I could not miss this. I had to rush myself from another meeting. But my take is that this is very timely. And for me, I think the bigger challenge is in the boy child. And I'll be speaking about that because I'm really passionate about the boy child and what we are passing on to the boy child.
Wow, let's appreciate that. I think it's taken to another angle, right? It's not just general. Now, President Anthony, architect, good to have you once again. You are very vocal. As you introduce yourself, tell us what is the agenda and who is setting the agenda?
Thank you so much. As you have heard, my name is Anthony Manyara, the president for KUSO and also East African Students Union. I'm very privileged today. I'm just taking a second to this university is opposite of the University of Nairobi, where I was the president for University of Nairobi Students Association. That is the university I studied, and I believe we have a very serious connection. And I'm so much happy to see very many students in this gathering. Also, the president here has mentioned that she serves in our organization which means she's one of the most powerful student leaders in the country coming from the institution.
Let's appreciate a powerful student from Kemu. All right.
Just to comment on the topic of discussion today, I would like to begin by saying that there is a saying in Swahili that goes, nje ya korokoro moja, ndani ya korokoro nyingine. That means that life is made up of phases, where we have Gen Z, then we have Generation Z. All these generations, they're interconnected. What we need to discuss is how we can be able to coexist together, to see how we can produce impactful change without really trying to suppress the voices of those who are not in a certain generation, because all of us need each other for us to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Anthony. Bishop, it's good to have you, sir. It's okay, sir. Just hold the microphone. It's okay. Hold the microphone. Oh. Yes, that's yours now. All right. Introduce yourself and contextualize for us. Come, let us reason together. That's a scripture. Do you think we have a problem with reasoning together? And if so, why?
Oh, hi, guys. How are you?
Very well.
No, Salimia, that's Gen Z greetings, eh? My name is Samuel Kadia. I am a retired bishop of the Methodist Church in Kenya, and I'm also a member of staff at the Kenya Methodist University. What you have quoted, I think, is from the book of Isaiah 1:18, where the prophet was reminding the Israelites what God was saying, that we need to reason together as people. And I believe this one to me is very profound. And I'm happy that we have a dialogue like this. Because from where I sit when, by the way, I belong to generation known as baby boomers. These are people who are born between 1946 to 1964. So I'm in that age bracket. And I'm looking at my grandson there, my granddaughter, and trying to see how can we pass the information that we have, because we are so rich. Our generation, we are so rich with information. And I believe it's very, very important, even the church, to see how we can pass that information, the ideas that we have, so that we'll be able to be understood by young people. It's also very important to have generational dialogue, because also in the church, we see a lot of misunderstanding between generations. You see old people maybe trying to sing some old hymns. Young people, they have their way of style of dancing, and sometimes you hear people even trying to condemn each other, saying that these are not godly and what have you. But what we're encouraging to do is to ensure that there is dialogue. And this one to me is very, very important.
Wow. Thank you very much. So the generational gap is there. We all agree there's a gap, and we need to plug into that gap. Anthony, you have the microphone. I'll ask you a question that I think is right now pertinent. The question then is, what has brought us here? Why are we in a situation whereby we are almost talking out of, it's a crisis. What, in your view, one or two things that you think has brought us here? Because I think we are not talking because of ideas. We're talking about other things. What has provoked the conversation, the need of conversation?
Well, what I believe is that the kind of things we have seen before, even the demonstrations, even this kind of outcry from a certain generation, that is Generation Z, and also the millennials. Gen Z, what they are fighting for, I believe, is to be heard. Their voices are not being heard enough. And I believe even that quest has not yet died down. The voices of these young people, I will tell you this because I know. I've been going to several universities for graduations, whereby very many students graduate with various courses. And when they go out there, they go to a world whereby there are no jobs. They go to a world whereby they pay a lot of debts. Mambo na CRB pia inasumbua. Mambo na Fuliza, a lot of debts. Ukitembea tu kutoka asubuhi, you are in debt even before you wake up. So it becomes very difficult for you even to survive. So when you get an opportunity to air out, umeona venye unasema kidogo ukipata chance ya kulia unalia, unasimama juu ya mlima unalia kabisa, unapiga nduru. That is the kind of situation which that generation was at. When I'm talking this, I know there is a serious purge. Pressure is still increasing. right now, even our dear president, who we support, may think that these voices have been suppressed, or rather these people are silent. But trust me, when they get another chance of doing such kind of things, they will still do. And you know why? We are the ones to blame. Because a system should be able to not just take care of the current generation, should be able to plan ahead for future generations. Thank you.
Well put, well put. So thank you very much. Prof, you have a mic, and I'd like you to pick up from that where he said, but as a devout educationist, as a vice chancellor, and you have served here, and I know you are very passionate about young people in some forums where we engage together. Do you think education is really helping? Because if it's about knowledge, do you think the education has helped the situation we are in today? Because they're saying, this is a generation that got free education. Now they are woke. Do you think the education is a problem now, or is it a plus?
No, the pressure needs to increase. The pressure needs to increase. Education it's said is an equalizer, but most times that's a fad. It's not true, because it is supposed to be. But when you look at how opportunities are awarded in some of our places, it has nothing to do with education. It's about who you know and things like those. My take is that we have a big responsibility as educators. You know, my dad, he passed away in 2007. He was a peasant farmer, but he kept telling me that the only inheritance he can give to me is education. And he gave me whatever he could to put me where I am now. Education is what has empowered me to be where I am currently, and that's why I'm very passionate about education. But the biggest challenge, I think we would blame education wrongly. For me, these conversations, the best place for intergenerational transfer of knowledge, values, and norms is the home.
Somebody stepped on the wire. All right, sir. You may continue. Yes. You're saying family should be the first line of defense. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the first line of defense is the home. And the reason I said about boy child is because we have a big challenge, and speaking as a man, because personally I never had a good relationship with my father. And so he passed away, unfortunately, before we could reconcile and really, you know, be in good terms. And I know that is the case for many people here. So P.L.O spoke and he said, we need to look for a point in time, and an event I've come from, a point in time where we cut off the bad habits. We cut off the things that we've been doing wrong and start doing things right. And right now we have very many, speaking for men, it is good to see men in the panel, only one lady. So many men are busy looking for money or for so many other things. They do not have time to spend with their children to pass on the values to them and give them that foundation. So by the time they're coming to the university, it is already perhaps too late to start forming those. That is not to say we should not do a lot in the university space. At Riara, where I am, we've had conversations around men and also women, and specific conversations for specific gender to see how do we empower you to rise up. But one thing I can tell the young people here as I close on this is that, yes, it is good to expect that something will be given to you. But the reality out here, the sad reality, it may sound harsh, but it's the truth, and it may set somebody free. Nobody owes you anything outside here. That's how life is. So you must earn your space. You see what he said when he was finishing. You must fight for your space. It's not going to be given to you for free. And if you think it's going to be given to you for free, you're mistaken. There's never a free lunch.
Okay, if that's a good point, let's clap for it. You know, I hear the Gen Zs or young people, and I think it's everybody, they say nothing about us without us. If it's going to be about us, nothing about us without us. If you don't involve us, then it's yours. Kanji, to you, I know you are a good defaulted Afro optimist, and you've studied about Africa and beyond. Is there a historical basis of revolution?
Thank you, panelists. I've been recently engaged in writing a paper, taxation without representation, of course, in light with what is happening, and I call this taxation without representation something to do with, and in Kenya's era of enlightenment. So I call this Kenya's era of enlightenment. Because it's really an era that really historically, if you are to look at issues of, if you are to run through history from the American Revolution, again led by youths, the French, in American Revolution was a case of no taxation without representation. In the French Revolution, the monarchs overtaxed the commoners, including increase in prices of salt and bread, and you cannot tax salt. In 1930s, there was a salt march in India led by Mahatma Gandhi, and he says next to water is air, and next to air is salt. That salt is the most common thing for the common man, and you cannot tax that. And I'll quickly jump into the Yellow Vest movement in France, again, issues of taxation. The Arab Spring, again, the youths were at the forefront, issues of taxation. And so if you are to juxtapose these, and of course, even our liberation struggles, in the first liberation struggle, the second, and we are now in the third liberation struggle, it is evident that the people at the forefront are the youths. But again, is it a Gen Z thing or a Gen Zote? When we are taxing, today, if I am to ask a question in this hall, how many feel the pain of the taxes? Are you together? The Gen Z.
Yeah. We all raise our hands?
Yes.
All right.
He might not feel the pain of the taxes. It is the
You are not so sure, because his uniform is affected by taxes. All right.
Thank you. So he might not directly feel the pain of the taxes, and therefore, that is why I ask, is it a Gen Z thing or a Gen Zote? And of course, as I talk about that, the most important question I ask, where does this Gen Z thing come from? It was from one politician, I think, is a one politician, and sometimes it feels like it is a label that has an end goal in mind, and the goal is to further divide. Thank you.
Wow. All right, we'll come to that. You've asked very pertinent question. Chebet, what's your beef? Because you come to the conversation as if it's fight. Is there a fight?
There is no fight.
Okay.
He took the words right out of my mind, because I think the demonstrations had to be branded. For there to be a divide and rule, they branded it. When we had issues with the finance bill that had been tabled, it was not issues that would affect Gen Zs. It was going to affect us, it was going to affect our parents, it was going to affect everybody. So I think it is a divide and rule tactic that they have actually reduced us to our generations and where we were born and where we fall into.
Who are they?
Our leaders. I think in Kenya we have a leadership crisis. That is just a mild way of putting it. I happened to be privileged to go to State House last month, and after we went, Kenyans did not allow us to even tell them what we went to do, because leadership has been vilified to the extent that we no longer trust leaders. If you are seen with a certain leader, it is a negative thing. And I need, when we talk about changing Kenya, changing our future, talking about the changes that we need to make, we also need to change our leadership, because our leadership is the one that can control a lot of the issues that we have right now.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
All right, Victor, do you have any role model leader in this country or adults? You're thinking hard about it. Must be that's a scratch to reveal thing.
Yes.
You have one?
Yes.
All right. What are their characteristics? What makes them role model to you? Don't mention the name. It may be somebody's not role model. What are the characteristics of that person that makes them a role model to you?
The biggest one is that he's not afraid.
That person is not afraid?
Yes. He's not afraid to speak out. He's not afraid to point out flaws in leadership. Yes, so those are my...
So if you were to take that quality of that person, courageous and not afraid to point out flaws of leadership, what flaws would you point out in the leadership of adults today?
The biggest one.
Right now, yes. If you are to look at adults and they are here, and you have to tell them these are the flaws you people have, what would you say they are?
The biggest one is that they don't care.
They don't care.
Yes. Like, you look at the state of Kenya right now, there are many problems that maybe that are they are caused by poor leadership, but most people ignore them. And that's what I would point out that flaw in them.
Wow, let's appreciate that young man. So this is the time as we'll go one more round. We don't have much time, but I think they have really made some very seminal introductory thoughts. Is that so? Just to lay the foundation. Now we'll come back to their pet areas, and they tell us what exactly are they doing in a practical way that we can tap into. So feel free. If you have any questions, I'll give you a chance to raise those questions as we take this final round to the audience. So I can see there's a hand up there. Is there somebody else with a question? There are questions that are popping like popcorns all over. All right. All right, so what we'll do is we'll take this corner, one question, this area, one question, this area, one question, that area, one question. I would hope we can have some microphones. Oh, all the microphones are in front. Would you want to donate too? All right. They care. That is one who cares, Victor. Him, he cares. So do you think Prof, hold to your microphone. Prof Agatero, hold to your microphone. Do you think people don't really care, especially those in places of privilege, be they parents, be they leaders, be they church leaders? Do you think there's a sense of I don't care, or everybody's just for themselves?
I think Victor is correct. Victor is correct, and we have to be honest. A lot of people out here really don't care so much, and that's why I said the moment we realize that they don't care, then we stop expecting them to care, and we force them to care.
Wow. Anthony is very good in forcing them to care. Anthony, how are you forcing the leaders to care, especially when you are with them? Because you seem to go to the State House. The last time I checked you on the TV. Put the microphone like this. Yes.
Okay, before even I respond to you, allow me to recognize with permission from the principal, allow me to recognize the president for the University of Nairobi, Mazao Rota.
Yes. Zayo, where are you? All right. Well done.
Okay, thank you.
We'll come to you as a respondent, as we agreed. Yes.
Could you please ask them?
Yes, the question is, how do you get let me put in a more candid way, all right? If they don't listen, can you slap their ears until they start listening?
You know, we're in a generation whereby there's that spirit of indifference. People really don't care. Especially nowadays, I know very many parents who are in this room, they know how they deal with their Gen Zs in the house. It becomes very difficult even to understand them. So this is not just a problem even with the government. The leaders we have today, hata wale watu ambao waliishi kitambo wanakaa chini wanauliza, surely are these our children who are behaving like this? But then again, we have to ask ourselves, have we been nurturing this kind of approach for a long time? Because kitambo, sometimes we can even attribute this to technological advancement, whereby there was those values, ethos, and cultural beliefs that are eroding slowly as we go. Because as we proceed, there's a lot of also desperation. And this is a mix-up which is interconnected. There's a lot of desperation. There's a purge in terms of population. There are so many skills out here which cannot be absorbed to the system. There's a lot of issues in the country which are forcing young people to behave the way they are behaving. It is upon us and the government to look for solutions to find a way of looping in this kind of people.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please pass it on to Bishop. Bishop, you said you are a generation boomer. That's those born between 46 to 65. 64 to 64. That's boomers. What problems do you think your generation created to this country? What problems did your generation create to this country?
I think first of all, we'll start with the positive things.
Okay.
That we are the people who fought for the independence of this country.
Let's clap for these boomers. All right.
We were very courageous. We did not entertain fear. We are the people also who has given birth to millennials and some of the Generation X.
Yes.
Now, the problem, I don't know what we created. I think there's a disconnect between us and maybe the people who came later, because there's something Prof said very profound about teachings. And I think that is what is lacking. You remember when he talked about circumcision, whereby circumcision was not just that operation, but there was teachings which were going with that. I think that one lacked quite a lot because people became so busy in our generation. Some of, towards the end of the boomers generation, many became quite busy doing their things and did not have time to talk to younger people. I think that is where I think we did not do very, very well.
Right.
And this is where we are trying to reconnect so that we can begin from where we left.
To pass the information.
Yes.
All right. Very well. Give it to Anthony in a minute. Anthony, tell us, what problems do you think your generation is creating?
The problem my generation is creating?
Yes.
I can say maybe it's the fact that we want things to happen fast. We want to push out. We want to get the spaces with the disregard.
You are impatient.
With the disregard of those who are sitting there. But then again, we still have to do it either way.
Right.
Because wale wenye wako hapo, they have high disregard. Look at even the political shaping of this country. And I like this young man here from high school near Garden Estate. I'll tell you as a matter of fact, people are a little bit tired. I'll tell you this because I'm in politics. People are tired of the same faces from 1980s. They're the same faces up to
you are
today.
now blaming them. What are you doing? What are you problems you are creating? Are you too impatient?
Sahi naona watu wanajipanga. There are people there who have created a political party.
Yes.
Sisi wenyewe kama wanafunzi pia we have formed our own political party.
All right.
We have realized instead of, like, there's something Professor Gatero here said. He said that you have to fight for those spaces. And what I believe also as well is that if you are not invited in the table, then you, at this point, you have to kick that table and force yourself there.
Or you kick the table. All right. Prof, what do you think is a big challenge for adults in having meaningful conversations with the younger generations? What's the big challenge?
First, I'll pick on the point he said. And there's a saying which goes, if you're not on the table, you're on the menu. Okay? So if you're not on the table, you're on the menu. And they're discussing how they'll eat you. So make sure you force your way to the table. But what we can do, I think, as I said, a lot of us, I'm Gen X myself.
Gen X, all right.
So one of the biggest challenges is that we are too busy. So we become too busy and too greedy. And this comes from the same challenge we talked about. Due to corruption and all the other things, we have created a fake image of success. We have created a fake aspiration, I could see Victor struggling to look for a role model, because the role models that have been placed on us, even by the media, are not the role models we need to be showing. There are thousands of Kenyans who are doing wonderful things. Scientists who are inventing new things, scholars who are innovating things, but they never get to see the light of day because we celebrate mediocrity and we celebrate people who are corrupt and who are fleecing us of all this money. So my challenge to my generation is to slow down. I was walking one time when Barack Obama came. So I got an invite, and so I was walking with my daughter. She was very young then. And we parked at TRM and walking to Kasarani. So as I was walking, she said something that has stuck in my mind, and I have to blame myself. I've not written a book titled the same. And she said, "Dad, you're walking too fast." And that is the problem with our generation. We are walking too fast, running after money, running after fame, running after things. We do not take time to stop and ask Victor, by the way, how was your day? How is school? Anything bothering you? What do you aspire to be? And those kinds of things. That's where it starts. But those conversations don't happen. And it's us to lend the hand down and pull the next generation before they fight. Because if they fight, tutaanguka nayo.
Yeah. Wow. Let's appreciate. I love the sense of vulnerability that you're bringing in the conversation, that, Dad, you're walking too fast. It's said that if you want to go far, walk with others. If you want to go far, if you want to walk fast, you go alone. Okay, everybody knows something about that thing. Google it, all right? So the thing is, let's not walk too fast, or we'll go alone. But if we want to go far, we walk with others. I think that's what it means. Now, Kanji, I'll come to you, and then we'll go to the questions, and we'll take a route. Kanji, I think you are Gen X? Which generation are you representing? You're a millennial.
I'm a millennial.
All right. They call the Gen Y. The Gen Y, millennials are always asking why. All right? So that's why you are. So the question to you I'll ask is, do you think, when you're asking the whys, do you have any ideas? How can we generate ideas that inform an agenda? Because right now, what Anthony is saying, and I'm hearing many of us perhaps bringing up, the issue that provoke conversation is human rights violation, haki yetu, when we are feeling there's bad governance, somebody is not letting me, is not letting me in, opportunities are not coming. But are we settling for ideas, and what Prof was saying, that we lift this conversation to another level where it's beyond ethnicity, it's about ideas? And how can we bring those ideas forth? How can we bring ideas forth to the table?
So the big question is, why should we care?
Yeah, why should you ask why?
In every conflict resolution or management process, the goal is to ensure both parties swim. Sometimes the goal may be to, when one party swims, another sinks. But the goal here is to ensure that we both swim. All generations must swim. No generation should sink another generation so that they go to the top. And so, as a researcher, basically, what I'm doing is, fact of the matter is, the Gen Z protests and the Gen Z label by extension were triggered by the finance bill, which was not the first time. In 2023, it was passed in a very haphazard manner. And this time round again, it was passed. But you see, I call that, the bill, I call that the trigger. As a researcher in my place, what I'm doing, I have an innovation that I've been applying for the last 2 years. And you've seen what has happened in this nation for the last 2 weeks, the regarding Gachagua thing. And we have the legislature, which I call is Kenya's symbol of oppression. And that is why the youths stormed the legislature, because it has become the symbol of oppression. We take 2 weeks to discuss a matter of a single individual. Nobody is talking about grade 9. Nobody is talking about taxes. No one is talking about the Adanis. And in my tool, I measure what are the contextual factors, what are the protective factors, what are the preventive factors. And if you are to look at how the government responded to the Gen Z protests, the only thing that was done, of course, was basically the withdrawal of the bill. But did the withdrawal of the bill address the underlying issues that led to the protests? Kenya is in a poly crisis. We are still struggling with issues that we have struggled with consistently since the first liberation, which is poverty, diseases, and illiteracy. So of those three, we have added the issues of all the other issues now. We have the three in 1963. We have in the second liberation, we have added unemployment, we have added taxation. Yeah. And what does the future look like? We are being divided on the basis of now generations.
So if you had to turn, sorry to cut your thoughts, if you had to turn that around and let's get to hold the feet of the leaders to the fire, how can that be done? Think about that, I'll come to you. Pass it to Chebet. Chebet, how can we hold the feet of the elders, influencers to the fire? Accountability and answerability. How can we foster that?
First of all, our biggest problem is not that we don't care. I think at this point, Kenyans have shown that they care, even to get the details of what is happening in our country. But we don't care enough. We don't care enough to follow it up. Because when something is wrong, everyone at this point, I'll use the example you used with Adani. Everyone at this point knows what's happening and that it's not right. But we don't care enough to do anything about it. When it comes to my generation, I'm a Gen Z, we are being told to keep quiet, you don't know enough. I have this example. When I was in class 1, the class 3s told me, as the seniors of lower primary, you as a class 1, shut up, you don't know enough. When I got to class 3 and I was the senior, I got to class 4. And the class 8s told me, class 4, shut up, you don't know enough. I got to class 8 and I was the senior. Then I got to Form 1. And Form 4s told me, Mono, shut up, you don't know enough. Then you go and you are the senior in Form 4. Then you are a fresh student, you are in first year.
At the university in Kemu, yes. And they told you?
And in the fourth years, in Kemu, we don't tell you to shut up. But we can tell you fourth years have maybe more experience.
Yeah, let's clap for that idea of Kemu. All right, you're a good president, yeah. Yes.
The thing is, we don't take wisdom. We don't know that wisdom does not necessarily come from age. Wisdom comes from learning. Yeah. So I think that is where there is a rift between the older generations, from the boomers to Gen X to the millennials to us to even alphas. We think every generation thinks they know best. So there is a fight for superiority. We should know that we should take wisdom from all angles. And the problem that my generation has, now that you are asking that question, is that now that we are being forced to keep quiet, we are even revolting against some wisdom. Because even as much as the other generations, our parents and our grandparents can be telling us to, tone it down, they also have some wisdom that they are giving us. But because we are in the spirit of defiance and being heard, we might miss out on some wisdom. Okay. So we also need to listen to the wisdom as much as we want to be heard.
So it's about attitude.
Yes.
Let's appreciate Chebet, Her Excellency. A mother told the son, sit down. The boy said, I'm not sitting down. Sit down. I'm not sitting down. Jacked him by the shirt, sat him on the seat, and the boy said, outside I am sitting, inside I'm standing. What will you do? So it's attitude.
That is the thing that's happening.
Victor, if you were to have the best scenario of relationships amongst all generations, what do you think would be the best way? What would be the best life where people are relating well, old and young? What would be the best? Describe for us in a picture. What will be happening? Give us some characteristics of a situation where people are always having dialogue. That is CRE question.
The question.
So, tell me, what would you want to happen? What would you want to happen for things to be good?
I would want I cannot speak for the other generations because I do not
You're
know,
a wise man.
Because I do not know, I do not share the same experiences. But for my generation, I think we need to stand up. We need to act. Because he said something about not waiting for others things to be handed out to you. We cannot wait for other generations to stand up for us. We have to stand up for ourselves. We have to have leaders to stand up from our own generation, elect those leaders, things like that.
Wow, let's appreciate this young man. All right, thank you. We have listened to the panelists, we've listened to the good professor. Now it's your turn, audience. Let's go. Let's bring the questions. From this side, let's have the questions. Please listen to them. I will assign you based on what I think is your strengths. All right, go ahead.
Keep you so much.
Keep the question short to the point.
I'll be short.
Yes.
I'm Wangila and I'm a jobless graduate. My issue is to do with the primitive accumulation of wealth. When you look around our leaders, most of them are competing to buy expensive things and to accumulate a lot of money. Why is it so? Because they know they don't need to perform to be elected. Why? Because of tribalism. How can we tackle tribalism?
All right.
The generation that was before us seemed to have planted seeds of tribalism in early stages. We struggle so much to teach our kids to hate another tribe.
Question made. Thank you. Prof, how do you, I'm not saying you're a tribalist, but how do you tackle tribalism? All right. Next question.
I adhere to the set protocol. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Dr. Purity, and I'm here to ask, Anthony, you raised something very pertinent, and I'm in a group where we have a conversation. Thank you, Madam Principal, and the administration for offering this opportunity. Because that Wednesday, this same auditorium will have a debate ongoing. So the question is, now that, Anthony, you talked about erosion of cultures, of how we used to do things and how things are being done. Now, is it that in the Gen Z too, is it that we are affected by cultural imperialism? Or is it a Gen Z thing? Is it a Gen Z thing that cultural imperialism affects? Or is it a Gen Z too? And a quick one to the baby boomer.
Baby boomer is Bishop.
Yes, yeah, Bishop.
So, Anthony, your question is cultural imperialism. Is it for all or is it just for Gen Z? Exactly. Say yes or no, and then a little explanation.
Exactly, as I went up.
Yes.
Rev.
Maybe one question more. Just one more, precisely.
Yes, for the baby boomer.
Yes.
Is that generation affected by cultures from the West? Thank you.
All right. Baby boomers, were you the extension of the colonialists? All right. Let's go this area. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Name and question, please.
Yeah, okay. I'm Peter Musili, a student here in KEMU. My question, I just want to address it direct to the baby boomers and millennials. Like you are all time blaming us about what we are doing, about we as Gen Zs. Then I just want to ask you, like, in some years to come, what are your fears or concerns that you may even be to the world that you don't want your grandchildren or your children not to inherit? Thank you.
All right. So I'll bring it to who is the, do you have children? All right. I'm Kanji. What are the things you not want future generations? Gen Alpha are coming. We have not even started imagining about Gen Alpha. What are the future things you'd not want them to experience? All right. So Bishop, about colonialism and Western world, Western influence on our cultures and how we relate. Anthony, about cultural imperialism. Let's take one more. Yes.
My name is John Wachiche from Garden Estate Secondary School. My question was, Professor there said that in order to improve, to bridge this gap for the generation, we must come up with ways in which we bring out the youth from where they are. But my question is, according to the colonial history, we see that most countries that were colonized by different nations in the European, you see they most rely on them. So most decisions, you may find them, they come at the highest.
Yeah, so what's
order.
the question? What's your question, son?
So my question is, what ways will we ensure that the Gen Z should be heard and all their concerns should be put into necessary action?
Good.
Thank
Prof,
you.
that's a question for you as an educationist. What measures should we put in place to ensure that the voices of the Gen Zs are actually heard? Thank you. Anyone more from this area?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, keep it to the point, please.
Yeah, hello again. I'm Emmanuel, student of Keynote, studying international relations and Liberian by nationality. Is it possible to ask 3 questions to 3 panelists?
Just ask one long one.
Oh, okay. Because I listened to every one of them and I actually have, but
All
it's
right.
very short.
Just keep them precisely then.
Okay.
Short ones.
Okay, maybe. The first one goes to the student's leader.
Yes.
As a student's leader, you control one of the highest populations, especially in Africa. And not only Kenya, but Africa at large. Now you are discussing the intergenerational dialogue. So, do you deem it or see it necessary to propagate that cost at the level of national government, where you will sit on the table to discuss with national government and advocate, because you have to be the voice of the voiceless,
All
to
right.
advocate for maybe 60% of national seat where young people will be decision maker at the level of high table?
Good. That's
Do you
question
see
to
it
Anthony.
necessary?
How do you advance students' issues at the national level? Good. Second question.
Yes, and my second question goes to my brother with the mark. I listened to you vividly, and you quoted one of the American Revolution slogan. Yeah, no taxation without representation. Maybe could you better explain to us what do you mean by no taxation without representation? Because that slogan actually was met in the U.S. Under the United Nations political arena.
All
and
right.
then we are discussing Africa, and we discussing maybe the change that we want for tomorrow.
So the philosophy of no taxation,
Yeah,
without
and-
representation. What's it really within our context? Thank you. Final
Yeah.
question.
And my last question has to go to my vibrant and proactive president of Kemusa. I listened to you, and you mentioned the bills. So, what I want to understand: who are nations? Who are nation builders? Who are nation builders?
Okay.
And yeah, I still standing. Who are nation builders? Or do you see, or do you expect Kenya to be independent or dependent, where she will rely on the taxpayer, on the money of other taxpayers from different countries under the context of maybe the European Union donate 2 million to Kenya, the USA donate 4 million to Kenya in terms of maybe to build hospitals, schools, and Kenyans themselves to only sit at the back and just watch and to enjoy the money of other taxpayers. Thank you.
All right. So who are the nation builders, the taxpayers or outsiders? That's a no or yes question. So let's go quick round, then Bishop will conclude with a prayer. Go that side. Start with the question, then we'll come to him, final remarks, and Bishop answer and prayer.
Okay, thank you. First of all,
Let's just keep the answers brief to the point here.
the nation builders are us. Because the problem is, who are the beneficiaries of our nation building? Kenyans are hardworking. If there is a generation which works hard, you can even say it is the millennials and the Gen Zs. They are very hardworking, but we don't get to reap. Other people reap from the hard work that we give. So we are the nation builders, but the ones who are benefiting from our nation building are not ourselves. That is the problem. Right. And allow me to answer this question that was not directed to me, but I resonate with it, and I can give a good answer. How to tackle tribalism.
All right.
Reverend, you are calling me Chebet, so it is clear I am from Rift Valley. But my mother is called Karemi, so she's from Mount Kenya. That is how you tackle tribalism.
And your father?
My father is from Rift Valley, Mount Elgon.
Okay.
But the thing is, we should not allow others to tell us how to be tribalists. We are already mixed. When you go to millennials, when you go to Gen Zs, when you go to Generation Alphas, we have a relative who is, my best friend is called Wanjiku. And there was another one from Coast. So we are nationalists. That is how we tackle it. By
being
mixing.
multi-generational.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Kanji. Precisely, the philosophy of no taxation, no representation. Has it caught up with us, and how can we contextualize it?
Two questions, two responses. No taxation without representation. I write in my paper, taxation without representation. It is a question. Basically the question is, who do the legislators represent? Do they represent their constituents, or do they represent the executive?
All right.
So that the audience may respond to that.
Okay.
The other one is about future generations. A question from a gentleman from the school. And
yes. What would you advise the younger you?
Basically, I would not, in future, I would not like my future generations to go through this, and that is why one of the key benefits of the protests was a concept known as valence populism, where we saw the rise of leaderless, partyless, and tribeless. And those violence populists basically concentrate on non-positional issues, such as the fight against corruption, increased transparency, democratic reform, and that is all the Gen Z wants.
Right.
And so
non-partisan issues.
Non-partisan issues. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Prof. Audience, just be patient. The food is coming now.
Oh, I didn't know there's food.
Yeah.
So now, I'll try and keep it brief, because this is something I can talk about for long. But I'll just say that one of the best things that have happened in Kenya is our education system, because it has empowered young people to realize that they have a voice. So and I think Chebet has answered the question about tribalism very, very well. My appeal to the young people who are here, if you're Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Alpha, and I request the principal that in the next conversation, let's have Gen Alpha on the panel. We think we have seen fire with Gen Z. Gen Alpha will bring the brimstone that is talked about in the Bible. So we need to be ready for that. But in a nutshell, I'll appeal to the young people who are here. Please cut off the bad habits that our generation is passing to you. Please cut it off. When you have a leakage on a pipe, before you fix it, there's something called a gate valve, which you have to close the flow of water so that it doesn't explode. You are the gate valve of values and morality and the right things to be done in this country and in Africa. And I really hope that you will rise to the plate, you will not be silenced, and you will do the right things. In conclusion, I'll just say, and as a caution to you, there's a saying which goes, A thief who has no opportunity to steal thinks he's an honest man.
Wow.
A thief who has no opportunity to steal thinks he's an honest man. Your time is coming. You will be in those positions. Will you still hold the values that you're holding in the Gen Z protests? That's where the rubber meets the road, and I hope you'll stand to be counted. Thank you.
Wow, profound, profound. Anthony, speak to cultural imperialism. Is there any group that feels they are more superior to others?
I think I will answer that by saying yes. It doesn't cut the divide. It is a one generation thing. And the cultural erosion that has been there, I just want to take you to some scenario which all of us have witnessed. Kitambo sana, tukiwa watoto, I think you remember very well when there is a wedding or when there is a burial, there was a communal affair. Very many people used to come for these functions. Nowadays mtu akitaka kuolewa anatengeneza kitu ya kwanza ni kutengeneza WhatsApp group, sio? It becomes even very difficult for people to be involved. Nowadays, when even people die, hii protest ambayo tulikuwa nayo juzi, how many people died? 60, right? And actually those ones ni ziko kwa magazeti. Me, I believe more than 300 people died. But how does Kenyans react when these kind of things happen? Wana discuss for 1 or 2, 3 days, watu wanasahau. And actually that is what even the government is expecting right now with the impeachment ya Gachagua. Watangoja 1 week, 2 weeks, watu wasahau waendelee tu na maisha yao. That should tell us what we fought for even kwa hiyo mambo ya hiyo maandamano tulipigania mambo za finance bill. Are we asking ourselves, do we use the right approach to solve issues? That is point of thought. Ya pili, I think I had my friend there who I believe comes from the West. He's not Kenyan, right?
Yeah, from Liberia.
Yes, yes. He asked something about how do I use my position in my capacity to entrench or rather to get opportunities for students. I became late for this meeting. I was even apologizing to the principal because I was meeting some senior officials who are treasury. Today, this is a private institution. This is a private institution. That means most of you do not rely on something we call help. Wanafunzi wengi hapa hawategemei help, sio? Many of them get help in this institution. So I was following up for students to ensure they get help, which has seriously delayed. We are talking to a tune of more than almost 2 billion Kenya shillings. Aija produced for the last 1 month. I just wanted to tell you, our organization, KUSO, bridges the gap between students and the national government and providing very many opportunities. One of it, Mashujaa Day is soon coming. I think the theme will be about affordable housing, which I'm an ambassador of that aspect. We are advocating for institutional housing. There are very many universities whereby we don't have enough accommodation. We want to see how students we can leverage, we can take advantage, because I think a professor here said very many people are not happy with taxation. Na mimi nasema as students being taxed, hiyo ambayo wanasubtractiwa 3%, kama kuna watu wanaambiwa wanaiba, sisi to take advantage of that hiyo mswanda to ensure wanafunzi wamejengewa hostels, wasilale kwa slums, nini. Kama hiyo pesa imeibiwa, then some of it can be used meaningfully for the benefit of our students. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. So I think those are very good ideas. Policy influence and advocacy is going to be a big thing for you, and I'm sure the comrades here will support you. Bishop, speak to us about the colonial effect on our way of relating, especially as Africans.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I want to begin by maybe defining what to mean by, or why we are called baby boomers, people born between 1946 to, I think is Anthony who has asked me that question. The reason why we are called baby boomers, we are people who were born immediately after the Second World War, which took place between 1939 to 1945. So you see, our parents walikuwa kwa vichaka huko, they were fighting, and when they came home, of course, you understand what happened. Many of us were born during this time.
You were boomed.
Yeah, we were boomed. So many, I think some countries get research that, is it in America, 3 million children were born that year, 1945. So that is why we are called baby boomers. Tulizaliwa watu wengi sana immediately after your Second World War. Now, coming to the question, I think that Dr. asked about the influence of the colonizers. We fought them, but they also influenced us in some way. One of the areas, of course, they brought education to us, which is quite good, is positive. But in the process of teaching us, also they taught us to discern some of our cultural values, which were very, very, very key. I think you heard Prof when he was talking here about even the names, that many of us don't keep our names. I remember even when people go for baptism, you cannot be called Kadhia Kirimi or whatever. You know, you want to get another, Western name to show that, you are towing the line. So I would say there was that influence by the Western world. And something also is about property, where we started fighting each other to ensure that we gain property. Part of, some of my people in my generation have even ended up by killing or destroying others whom they perceive as threats. That he is outshining me. Of course, he is gifted. We are not all gifted the same. But if I see Anthony is outshining me, I will plan by all means to make sure that he is eliminated. Also the spirit of greed, I think, which Prof talked about. I want to acquire more, accumulate more. And we focus so much on that at the expense of our values as Africans. I remember it's Chinua Achebe who said that when I invite you during the night to get, yes, kinsmen, to get pamoja, we sit under the moon to eat. It doesn't mean that you don't have food in your homes, but we're inviting you so that to fellowship together, to talk together, to discuss issues that are affecting us. And I think this one is missing. And going by the question, I don't know, there's one of the students who asked the question, what is my fear as a member of generation, boomers, is to see my child or my grandson being affected by this spirit of greed, or where you feel threatened. If somebody is outshining you in some areas, we need to embrace this spirit of unity in diversity, and at the same time to destroy the spirit of tribalism, because we realize that we need, if I want to thrive, I need to have my kinsmen around me. Last Saturday, and a family function, where my niece, my sister's daughter was getting married, there was that Irorasho. And when I looked at that picture, I was so much impressed because tribal did not feature there. My sister comes from Meru, her husband is from Mukambani. The family where the girl is getting married, the mother is a Kikuyu, the father is a Kalenjin, and the mother of my, the mother of my brother-in-law who has married my sister comes from Taita. So there was that combination of Kikuyu, Meru, Taita, Kalenjin, Kamba combination, and they are there. And there's something we need to kill. Okay, of course, to be to belong to a tribal, to belong to a tribe. See, Dhambi, God created these tribes. We belong somewhere. But we shouldn't embrace these, and we look at them in unity. We have unity in diversity. Right. So that is what I can say. And on behalf of the baby boomers, I want to sincerely apologize to Gen Z where we were failed, or even those, they are born.
All these people should apologize.
And we are the people also.
Yes, we'll reconcile.
We are also the people who don't want to leave office. We still want to continue saying, mukaekai kidogo, sisi wacha tuendelee wazee kidogo. Even the majority of the people in the parliament, even those who are leadership today, majority are of my generation.
All
so
right. Before you pray, Bishop, before you pray, we have a respondent. I'll just allow him, two of them. Shalom Meni, are you here? She's not here. Mr. Rocha Mwancha. Rocha Mwancha is a young man I've journeyed with for the last many years. Until now, he's the president of UON, Students, University of Nairobi Students Association. What's your response? You'll be our respondent as we conclude. Please come to the fore and give your response in summation, and then I'll pass it on to my co-MCs for the direction. So be the respondent in a minute.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Dr. Reverend Obwanda, he was my father back at Alliance High School, and I'm glad I'm seeing a good panel. Manyara and the rest. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm glad we're having this conversation with regards to intergeneration talk. I think for the first time, we have a platform that is between the Gen Z, the millennials, baby boomers, and Gen X. So I think we should replicate this platform more and more in other schools and even involve the government, because it is only in these platforms that we can air out our problems and find our solutions. Were it not for this platform, we wouldn't have found such solutions that we've had from the bright panel that we have over here. So my prayer is that you as the organizer, as KEMU, you can talk to leaders and then you can replicate this now on a larger scale. Let this not be the only session. Let's do it now in a larger scale, even in KCC. I'm sure we have enough connections that we can replicate this platform now nationally, or nationwide, and then we invite the governors, the civil societies groups, our able principals, student leaders, so that we can have this conversation on how we can chart the next way forward as a country. And just to set it straight with regards to the Gen Z Mandamano, all that conversation, the demonstrations, the agitation, it was not for the Gen Z, it was for the citizens of Kenya. I'm sure we found mothers on the streets, we found kids in the streets, we found policemen in the streets. So let's stop this narrative of saying Gen Z, Gen Z. This is citizens of Kenya. We are in this as citizens, not as Gen Z. Mimi kama mtu wa UN kinua mkate na 2,000, wewe kama mtu wa KEMU pia utaona 2,000. Si ati kuna hiyo disparity. So let's stop the division of Gen Z, Gen X. We are in this tussle or this fight towards a good governance as a nation, as citizens of Kenya, not Gen Z. Thank you sana, Mungu awabariki. Na safari ni ya Ikulu.
Asante. Safari ya Ikulu?
Yes, it is.
Hi. Yes, all right. Let's appreciate my son Rocha for the very good submission. So now we come to the conclusion, friends. It has to end because
Reverend.
every good thing has an end.
A minute, Reverend.
Somebody is speaking to me. Is this Jesus?
No.
All right, there you are.
No, we also have the president of Cooperative University.
Okay, so we have many presidents here. Can we have the presidents stand? This is a UN delegation. Yes, please come and say Jambo also. Do we have lady presidents? Yes, we have Chebet there. You're also president? Okay. You also have a president of Go Green. President, come here. We have a green president here. Where is the yellow one? Let's appreciate the president of Go Green. So you go blue, he goes green. Just your name and your remarks. What's your takeaway? Yes.
Our panelists today, guests present, fellow leaders, dear comrades. Good afternoon. Good afternoon once more. I'm always the last born. Even at home, I'm always the last born at the Cooperative University. So don't worry. My name is Newton Kipleting. I'm the President, Cooperative University of Kenya, and I'm glad to be here. Yes, this conversation, I will only add something small. That is, just have a purpose where you are. If you are in Gen Z, have a purpose to be in Gen Z. If you call yourself Alpha, have a purpose to be there. If you call yourself Kikuyu, let it have a meaning. If you call yourself Aluya, let it has a meaning. Give it a purpose.
Right.
Don't just belong somewhere. You don't know why you are there.
Right.
Are we together?
Good.
Thank you.
Purpose it. All right. The president of Green Corner. You said go green. All right. Say hello and then what's your takeaway from this conversation?
Hello. Hi.
Let's wave to the president, please.
Jambo. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yes. Good afternoon. First of all, I appreciate all of you here. I appreciate the Almighty God for giving us the opportunity to see all these wonderful souls coming together so that we can be able now to have some, share conversation, iron sharpens iron. My name is Dr. Young Taylor. I'm the president of the Go Green, or the Green Army. The Go Green is all about fostering youth resiliency. I've been doing this ever since I was inspired by the late Wangari Maathai, since 2011. But below 2011, I was a confused fellow. I was in the clubs. I didn't have a purpose. But when I founded the Go Green, I came to discover that the problem with our society, it's not about the Gen Z and the senior people in the leadership. I came to realize that the only thing that we are lacking here is discipline, nothing else. This is discipline, lack of discipline. Just a minute, brother. Because I have some message here that I'm going to give to the younger generation. I am a senior mentor. I am a motivational speaker. I am also a researcher in science and technology. So I am electronics and computer engineer. We are not going to get too much into details, but what I want to tell you, when I came to discover now the Go Green, I came to realize that our people, the younger generation, what you lack is discipline. What do I mean discipline? Most of people, like the way Senior, my brother here said it, most of people want things to be given to them. In Africa, this is what you've been doing.
Yeah.
You look at South Korea, you look at China, you look at the Israel, the smaller one that actually they founded it in 1943. What exactly they're doing with their youths is that when you get into a primary school, you must be get to be militarized. So in short and clear, the Go Green is fostering environmental education, but at the same time also we are mentoring youths to start doing sustainability.
All right.
In short, I'm closing, brother, I'm closing. I know
you said discipline, you're not.
Yeah. I'm just requesting. Even in Parliament, they ask, but please.
Okay, so
yeah.
I'll give you more.
Short.
I'll give you a chance.
Short.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah. So youth, I want to ask you, wherever you are, we have a very wonderful land that we need to, we need to develop. But you find that most of youths in Nairobi here, they're waiting to be, to be employed, while they have a land over there with 5 acres, they're not doing agriculture over there. So me, if you want to know anything about me, I am an innovator. I'm not going to tell you what I've already innovated here. I can network with you and show you how you can develop your soil, whichever way, without any whatever. Third last now, to the senior guys over here, I want to say that we all came from God. And God is the one who made us now, so we are all equal. Iron sharpen iron. I can be an iron and a sharpen you.
Yeah.
What I know you don't know.
Let's appreciate the president.
So,
thank you.
Please, can we bring inclusively all institutions?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Another day
Thank
like this with the
Thank
same
you.
thing so that we can discuss this matter.
Thank
you.
you.
God bless you.
Let's appreciate Mr. President there. Thank you very much. All right, friends, it's getting better, sweeter, but it has to end. From where I come from, my ethnic extraction, we say, Iwe gimitne. Leave it while it is still sweet. And that's what we'll do now. May God bless you. I am passionate about inspiring excellency. And as P.L.O mentioned, we run a program that trains people how to be your excellency in your own right. On next month, we are launching Your Excellency Awards. Yeah. And we'll be populating the media with the information. Just learn how to be the best you in whatever situation you are. May God bless you. It's been my plumb pleasure with my co-MC. Jacinta, you'll come and announce what is next about the meals. All right. All right. So we are going to have a presentation. Please, you may resume your seats, the normal seats. And then Bishop, I'll tap you again to do the closing prayers. Let's appreciate our panel, please. They've been very generous with their knowledge and information. Where's the team singing? All right. So we have a special presentation as a takeaway. Then we'll have the anthems, and then we will have the closing prayer. Thank you very much. And the guidance to the lunch. So did we have the endorsements? Do we have the endorsements? Equity Bank? Or before I forget, yes. Before I forget, we have the president of East Africa. Yes, I've been asked to allow him also to make a remark. Please come, sir. Yes. Where is the choir? Please, the choir be coming to the fore. They're not here. So let's have the president of East Africa just say jambo, and you have takeaway just in 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I'll take 1 minute so that I follow what you have said. My name is Gerishon Gashoki. I'm not the president of East Africa, I'm just the representative of Health X Africa. Health X Africa is digital innovation in technology. We use technology to access or deliver healthcare to everyone. And we have our people at the back. If you want to pass by, you can pass by and see those lovely ladies who are talking about health and digital technology and accessing health at the convenience of your home. Thank you very much.
I like the brevity. Did we have Equity Bank representative? Oh, this is our partner. Our partners in this program, where are our banners? They are not here. There you are. Yes, health. Let's appreciate health, because what you're going to consume, possibly they have contributed to that. So please get more information about them from the desk there. Equity Bank representative? Right? Okay. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to have the song sung. Then the anthems will follow, and Bishop will do the closing prayer. Thank you. My co-MC, please come and announce that. All the panelists, please come to the fore. There was a protocol in which you are supposed to exit the stage. One more time. Just come. The panelists, come to the stage. One. Then Jeff and your team, please, let's have the... So Madam Dorothy, you are designated to come and appreciate our panelists. So the panelists will stand here. There's a... So we have our Kemwe to say thank you. Dean, you may take my microphone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I believe we have taken something home, and not just to take it, but to put it into practice. So for us, as Kenya Methodist University, to our panelists, we want to say thank you very much for gracing this occasion and sharing with us. And we are hoping we are going to be a better society, that within our generation, we can be able to continually dialogue so that we make this society a better place. So I want to request the young ladies to just give you something that will remind you of the day you came to Kenya Methodist University to grace this occasion, the intergenerational dialogue. So the ladies, kindly. So shake their hands and just give the gift to them. Yeah, so I'm sure there's a photo that has been taken for you, just to remember, and the challenge has been given to all of us. Let's go and do the same wherever we live and the people we associate with. Let's continue to dialogue and disseminate this information that we received today. May the Lord God bless you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Kindly, Bishop, is Bishop here? Yes. Bishop will make a prayer, so that after the prayer, we'll have the other songs leading us to... So we'll have the Kemu song for Kemu, then we'll have the national anthem, the East African anthem, and we'll be at liberty to take leave. We will allow the students from the high school to consume the food first, and then the rest of us will be guided how to follow after that, because I understand they need to get back to school on time. So that's our kind way of appreciating the younger generation. Thank you. Bishop, please.
Kindly let us stand so that we can pray together. We are before you again, dear loving Father, thanking you and praising you because of your love. We thank you, Lord, for gathering us here, Lord, in this discussion between generations. We thank you, Lord, because of what we have learned today. from Professor P.L.O Lumumba, who was here, Lord, and even from our panelists. Thanking you, Lord, for Kenya Methodist University organizing for this function. We want to thank you, Lord, for the vision that you have given them. We also want to thank you, Lord, even for the visitors who have visited came today, our high school students, students from various universities, and even the members of this university. We want to thank you, Lord, even for our coordinator, our brother, Reverend Robwanda, for the way he has guided us together with his colleague, Lord. We pray that, Father, you bless us all, and we pray that, Father, what we have learned today, we'll put it into practice. We are reminded by the scriptures that we need to be doers of what we have learned. And we pray that, Father, you help us to learn this, and praying that even other people will also get an example from what you have done, praying that, Lord, this will cascade even to other communities, other universities, and other places, so that, Lord, there will be that understanding. We continue also to pray for our country, praying that, Father, peace will prevail, praying for understanding that comes from you, Lord, and even that art of listening to one another. Be with us. We also want to thank you, Lord, for even the sponsors. We commit them into your hands. That, Lord, you also bless them who have sponsored this occasion. We are praying now even for the food that you are providing, asking you, Lord, to bless it as we share it, that, Lord, it will nourish our bodies. Praying that, Lord, you will all be with us and guide us. Even as we are about to disperse to go to our respective places and destinations, may you take us there safely, and we believe you will cause us to meet again. For we pray this, believing and trusting in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. The team that helped coordinate this under the guidance of our able principal, can you wave? We have the Dean of Students. We have Doreen. Where is Doreen? Doreen. Oh, sorry. Doreen is there. We have, who am I missing, Madam Principal? Solomon, yes, our head. Yes, and Samson has been the brainchild. Also, he brought this idea to the university, and Madam Principal adopted it. Who else am I missing? Yes, how can I miss Jacinta, my co-MC, and Dr. Dorothy, the Dean, and of course, all of you in one way or the other participated, and we really appreciate you all. May God richly bless you. Shall we be upstanding for the the Kemu song? Be seated for Kemu song. Or we sing it standing. Kemu song, please come. Come, guys. Yes, we'll sing the Kemu song or song for Kemu before it comes Kemu song. Song for Kemu before it's Kemu song. Okay, move fast like for Kemu. So the words are on the screen, and you can sing along.
1997, our dream took flight. Kenya Methodist in splendor bright. Path of truth, wisdom our guide. Trials faced with vision wide. Rejoice, let's sing for Kemu. In God's arms, values true. Medicines call science and arts, universal uniting hearts. Wide fields of different programs, health sciences growing worldwide. In the heart of Nairobi, a vibrant song we hear. Rejoice, let's sing for Kemu. In God's arms, values true. Medicines call science and arts, universal uniting hearts. Rarity unfolds, patterns so unmatched, values cherished, integrity true.
Christian ethers, all we do, anthem of pride and morning dew. Rejoice, let's sing for Kemu, in God's arms values true. Medicines call science and arts, universal uniting hearts. International minds united in solidarity. Scholars gather, grand harmony, the future is here. Rejoice, let's sing for Kemu, in God's arms values true. Medicines call science and arts, universal uniting hearts.
Remain still for the anthems. Thank you. Please, we may resume our seats to be guided in the order of being served food. We'll have the students precede the rest, and then Madam Jacinta, you can guide the rest. Okay, so let's have some music. Let's have intergenerational dialogue. Let's continue. Thank you.
All right. There's food for